From News 4 and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, this is Extra Edition.
And good evening and welcome to Extra Edition. I'm Jamie Allman. You know, federal and local officials are kicking off a new campaign this week to make you aware of a growing crime, identity theft. They've even produced a short film titled Identity Crisis. Now, here's a scene in which a couple gets some shocking news about their home loan and their credit report.
I don't understand what credit cards. Getting credit cards we don't know about?
No.
But we never even got a past due notice. Maryland? No, there has to be some sort of mistake. We don't even live there. Can we get a copy of the credit report or what? It's not our address.
What about the house?
Well, the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office is helping to sound the alarm on this, and joining me tonight is Assistant Circuit Attorney Pat Kiernan. And Pat, thank you very much for being here this evening.
Thanks for having me.
I've often heard about identity theft, and I don't know anybody who actually has had it happen to them. How prevalent a problem is this in the St. Louis area, and is the St. Louis area any different from any other area?
Well, in fact, it's very prevalent in the St. Louis area. In the last year, identity theft in St. Louis alone tripled, and you can compare that to nationwide. The FTC said that identity theft crimes doubled in that same period of time. So it's a very big problem here in the city of St. Louis.
And why? I mean, how does this happen, and why is it getting to be a bigger problem?
Well, basically three reasons. Number one, it's lucrative. And it's relatively safe compared to other types of crime, which usually involves some sort of violence. Number two, the information is easy to get nowadays. We live in the internet age, and it's pretty easy to even buy people's social security numbers off of the internet. And then number three, the laws are relatively weak in this area. Identity theft has only really started to be a growing problem in the 90s. And as a result, statutes that were written back in the 70s and 80s really aren't helpful in prosecuting those types of crimes.
And let's get an example here, because before we were taping here, you were telling me the story of a father who stole the identity of his 9-year-old son.
Yes.
Explain that, and explain how you are handcuffed in actually going after this.
Sure. That was a case that came to our office's attention. What happened was father basically took his son's name, social security number, and date of birth and used them to apply for and obtain loans and credit in the amount of $26,000, and basically defaulted on all of those and ended up, before his son even was close to being 18, totally ruining his credit rating. What handcuffs us right now as prosecutors is that Missouri is only one of 5 states in the United States that makes identity theft a misdemeanor, no matter what the amount stolen the first time out. So the most that we could charge that man with was a Class B misdemeanor, which only carries a penalty of 6 months in jail.
Wow. And there's a bill developed right now that's actually generated from your office.
That's correct. Assistant Circuit Attorney Scott Ingram, who works for me, drafted House Bill 658, which we submitted to the General Assembly last year and unfortunately ran out of time, which would basically change the system that Missouri has. We would like to see Missouri go to a value-based system where we look at how much the person stole using the identity the first time out. For example, if they stole between $500 and $1,000 under our bill, that would now be a Class D felony.
And why is it really punishment that is preventing people from, or lack thereof, that is fueling the identity theft problem? It clearly indicates already in our area, since they tripled, since the cases have tripled, that there seems to be some view that there's no teeth in the law at all.
Yes, and I would say it's that combined with the fact that, in the 80s and early 90s, law enforcement resources, justifiably so, were really aimed at cracking down on violent crime and drug crime. Now we're slowly but surely coming around to realizing that we need to have policemen and prosecutors in greater numbers deal with these types of fraud crimes, especially identity theft.
And why are we one of only 5 states that still treat this as a misdemeanor? Is there something going on there, or is that just because we're just slow on the uptake?
To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not exactly sure why it happened that way. I know a few years ago, Missouri was one of the first states to outlaw identity theft when it passed this bill. For some reason, and I actually think that it had to do with the fact that they were working on other criminal statutes during that period of time, that they just hadn't gotten around to it. But now I think the need is really there, and we hope that the legislature will do something this next session.
And extremely briefly, we'll see this video where then?
You'll see it all over St. Louis.
Okay.
I know that the U.S. Attorney's Office is going to be showing it to community groups.
Okay.
You know, it's excellent, and I know that your channel, too, has also posted tips online for people to avoid becoming victims of identity theft, and I would encourage them to look at that as well.
KMOV.com. But Pat Kiernan, thank you very much. All right? Appreciate
Thank you, Jamie.
being here tonight. So.